This is Dr. Debbie with Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. And this is our Healing Circle, Feel Better Daily, where we come together to learn tips and different information and different practices and tools that I use to feel better daily. We keep it simple, but I want to give you a heads up starting this week. And I've been playing with it for a while because I knew this was coming, but I am having a little dental work, well, actually a lot of dental work being done in the next week or so. And I'll be doing voice only for the next couple of weeks while I heal up. I don't want to look all crazy or anything. Didn't want to disappear on you, so we're keeping the content coming, just audio for now. Same energy, same real talk, just no camera for a bit. Thanks for rolling with me on this one. And let's get into this week. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're here live with me tonight. If this is your first time joining, welcome to the Focus Stack. And if you've been with me since last week, we are changing it up a little bit. This week, we're doing episode 3 and 4 together in one video. And we're going to build this week in a different way, in a better way. Hopefully that will help you more in integrating this information and these practices and skills and information into your day-to-day life, making your day-to-day life easier and your wellness and healing journey more successful. So we're sticking with this series for this week to complete it. So just a quick recap before we dive in. Remember, episode 1 was all about your dopamine and attention reset, why your brain feels so pulled toward distraction and how to actually retrain that. Episode 2 took us into blue light and your sleep-wake rhythm and how that rhythm is quietly setting up whether tomorrow's focus is even possible. If you missed either one, they're both up on repeat right now, so go back and catch them when you can. They build directly into what we're covering tonight. Because tonight we're bringing it all together with the two pieces that tie the whole stack into place, part 1 of tonight, which is episode 3, is about your nervous system. What's actually happening in your body when focus feels impossible no matter how hard you try. And then part 2 is about fuel, what you're eating and drinking that's either building sustained focus or quietly setting you up for that afternoon crash. By the end of tonight, you'll have all 4 systems: dopamine, rhythm, regulation, and fuel. And you'll understand exactly how they work together. So stay with me for both parts because this is where everything from the last 2 episodes finally clicks into place. So let's start talking about nervous system regulation and do some deep work here. Have you ever tried to focus while your chest feels tight or your thoughts are racing and no matter how hard you try, your brain just won't lock in? That's not a focus problem, that's a nervous system problem. And no amount of trying harder is going to fix it because you're fighting your own biology. Your autonomic nervous system runs on 2 main modes: sympathetic, which is your fight or flight, go, 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 and parasympathetic, which includes what's called the rest and digest state, and more specifically, a calm but alert state that some researchers following Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory describe as social engagement mode. This third state, calm alertness, is where deep focus actually lives. Here's the mechanism that trips most people up. Mild stress and deep focus can feel similar in the body. Elevated heart rate, activation, urgency, which is why people often try to power through a focus blockage using stress as fuel. But sustained sympathetic activation floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. And those hormones specifically impair function in your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for sustained attention, working memory, and complex reasoning. Meanwhile, they upregulate activity in your amygdala, your threat detection center. In other words, real stress doesn't sharpen focus, it hijacks the very brain region focus depends on, and redirects resources towards scanning for danger instead. This is measurable. Research on heart rate variability, the variation in time between your heartbeats, shows that higher HRV correlates with better cognitive flexibility and sustained attention, while low HRV, a marker of sympathetic dominance, correlates with impaired executive function. Your body basically broadcasts whether you're in a state capable of deep work. The challenge is that most people try to force focus from a dysregulated state. More caffeine, more pressure, more deadlines, which might work for short bursts of shallow tasks, but actively works against the kind of sustained, high quality focus most meaningful work requires. The solution, my friends, is this. Before a focus block, spend 2 or 3 minutes doing something that shifts you into calm alertness rather than jumping straight in. Physiological sighs, a double inhale through the nose followed by a long exhale through the mouth, are one of the fastest researched ways to lower sympathetic activation in real time. Stanford's Huberman lab has shown measurable calming effects within just a few repetitions. Box breathing works similarly. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. It's simple, but it directly stimulates your vagus nerve, which is the main highway of your parasympathetic system. And build transition rituals between tasks, not just before your big focus block. Every time you switch from a reactive task, email, a hard conversation, into deep work, your nervous system needs a moment to downshift, or it carries the previous state's activation into the next task with you. This is where a grounding ritual can genuinely support the physiology, not just the mood. Apply doTERRA balance to your wrists or the back of your neck before a focus block, paired with a few slow breaths. Its grounding blend of spruce and root oils gives your body a consistent sensory cue that it's safe to shift out of alert mode. And if your transition ritual includes a warm drink, reach for Agara Cafe or Matcha Agara instead of something highly caffeinated on its own. The calmer, steadier lift works with your nervous system instead of adding fuel to an already activated state. Before we move on, let's lock in the 3 things I want you to take from this part. Number 1, stress and focus can feel similar in the body, but sustained stress actually impairs the exact brain region deep focus depends on. Number 2, your heart rate variability is a real measurable signal of whether your body is even in a state capable of sustained attention. And number 3, regulating your nervous system before a focus block isn't an optional prep. It's the prerequisite for real focus. So this week, I want you to sit with 2 journal prompts tied to this part. On Monday, I want you to think about this and journal on this. Where in your body do you first notice focus blocking tension? In your chest, jaw, shoulders? What's happening right before you usually notice it? And then on Tuesday, think of a recent time you tried to force focus while stressed. How did the quality of that work compare to focus you felt in a calmer state? My friends, journaling is very important to your healing, health, and wellness development, and doing the inner work to find that deep, calm space. Spend a few minutes with each one on its day. This is where the real shift begins, and it happens, not just in watching, but in writing it out. You can't think your way into focus if your body thinks it's under threat. Regulate first, then concentrate. The order matters more than people realize. Now, take a short pause and pause the video if you need to, and then we'll move into part 2, which is episode 4 of our focus stack, the fuel side of the equation. Have you ever hit the wall around 2 p.m. where your brain just turns to fog? You're not lazy, and you probably don't need more coffee. What you're feeling is very likely your blood sugar And now I'm breaking down exactly how what you eat is either building sustained focus or setting you up for a crash. Your brain is metabolically expensive. It's about 2% of your body weight, but uses roughly 20% of your daily energy, almost entirely from glucose. But here's what matters for focus specifically. It's not about how much glucose you have, it's about how stable your glucose levels are. When you eat something high in refined carbohydrates on its own, like a pastry, white toast, a sugary coffee drink, your blood glucose spikes quickly. Your pancreas responds with a surge of insulin to bring it back down, and in a lot of people that response overshoots, causing glucose to drop below a comfortable baseline about 90 minutes to 2 hours later. That dip, my friends, is what you're feeling as brain fog, irritability, and that overwhelming urge to reach for more sugar or caffeine. You're not experiencing a willpower failure. You're experiencing reactive hypoglycemia, and your brain, deprived of steady fuel, prioritizes basic function over the energy expensive process of sustained attention. There's also a hydration piece that goes underrated here. Studies on mild dehydration, as little as 1 to 2% of body weight in fluid loss, which is easy to hit without noticing, show measurable declines in concentration, short-term memory, and reaction time. Your brain tissue is around 75% water, and even mild fluid loss affects the electrical signaling neurons rely on. And then there's a micronutrient side. B vitamins are cofactors in neurotransmitter synthesis, including the dopamine pathway we talked about earlier in this stack. Magnesium regulates the NMDA receptors involved in learning and memory, and a large percentage of adults don't meet daily intake targets for it. The omega-3s, particularly DHA, are structural components of neuronal membranes and are consistently linked in research to cognitive performance and mood stability. The challenge is most of us eat for convenience or cravings in the moment without realizing we're setting up our focus or lack of it hours in advance. The solution, my friends, and the biggest lever is pairing, not eliminating. You don't need to cut carbs, you need to stop eating them alone. Pairing carbohydrates with protein, fiber, or healthy fat slows glucose absorption and flattens that spike and crash curve significantly. Front load protein at your first meal. Research consistently shows that a protein forward breakfast improves satiety and blood sugar stability through the rest of the day compared to a carb heavy one. Hydrate before you feel thirsty. Thirst is a lagging indicator, and by the time you feel it, mild cognitive effects may already be present. Now, this is a great spot for an upgrade rather than an overhaul. Swapping a sugar crash prone afternoon coffee for something like Agara Cafe gives you steadier energy without the same glucose roller coaster. And Matcha Agara's L-theanine content is specifically studied for smoothing out caffeine's stimulating effect into calmer, more sustained alertness instead of a jittery spike. And if an afternoon craving hits, a drop of doTERRA peppermint in water or diffused nearby can curb the urge to reach for sugar while giving you a genuinely invigorating clean lift. Let's lock in the 3 things from this part. First, it's not how much glucose you have, it's how stable it is. Spikes and crashes are what actually drive brain fog. Number 2, mild dehydration, as little as 1 to 2% fluid loss, measurably impairs concentration, memory, and reaction time, often before you are even feeling thirsty. And number 3, pairing carbs with protein, fiber, or fat rather than eliminating them is the most sustainable lever for stabilizing focus and supporting blood sugar. Now, here are 2 more prompts for the rest of the week. For Wednesday, look back at yesterday's meals. Where was a carb eaten alone rather than paired with protein, fiber, or fat? What's one small pairing you could add today? And then Thursday, When does your energy typically dip during the day? And what did you eat or drink or skip in the hours before that dip? And then on Friday, I want you to bring the whole week together with this one. This week connected two systems, how your nervous system state and your fuel both shape your ability to focus. Which one do you think has been your biggest blind spot? Regulation or fuel? And what's one small change from this week you'll actually carry forward? My friends, focus isn't just trained, it's fueled and it's regulated. Stabilize your nervous system, stabilize your blood sugar, and give your brain what it actually needs. And sustained mental energy stops feeling like a rare lucky day and starts becoming your baseline. And that wraps the focus stack up, my friends. 4 episodes, 4 systems: dopamine, rhythm, nervous system, and fuel, all working together to build the kind of focus that doesn't depend on willpower. If this series helped you, I'd love for you to share which part hit home the most. And don't forget, the real transformation happens in journaling, not just watching. And also, don't forget, come join us on Patreon. Patreon is where we are building a community to feel better daily. There is a plethora of information there for you. There's master classes. You get an early release of these streams, and you get unlimited access to me. So check it out, my friends. Remember, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Peace, love, and light. I will see you tomorrow in our healing circle. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Debbie with Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio in our healing circle. Feel better daily. This week, we are doing a focus stack, and episode 1 is dopamine and intention reset. Have you ever noticed you can't watch a show without your phone in your other hand anymore? Or you sit down to read a book and you're rereading the same paragraph 3 times? That's not a willpower problem, my friends. That's a wiring problem. And today I'm going to show you exactly what's happening in your brain and how to reset it. Let's talk first about dopamine, because it's probably the most misunderstood chemical in wellness conversations right now. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical. That's actually more the job of opioids and serotonin. Dopamine is the motivation and anticipation chemical. It's what makes you reach for the next thing. Here's the key mechanism. Dopamine works on a system of contrast. Your brain doesn't just respond on how good something feels. It responds to how much better than this thing is than what came before it. Researchers who study behavioral addiction, like Dr. Anna Lembke at Stanford, describe this as a balanced scale in your brain. Every time you get a hit of high stimulation input, a notification, a scroll, an autoplay video, the scale tips toward pleasure. But your brain, always seeking balance, tips it right back by dulling your baseline sensitivity. Over time, that baseline drops. Ordinary things, a walk, a conversation, a quiet focus time, stop registering as rewarding at all. That's why deep work feels almost physically uncomfortable now for a lot of us. Your brain has recalibrated its definition of enough stimulation, and it's set way too high. This is also why willpower isn't the fix. You're not undisciplined. Your reward system has been retrained by an environment engineered, literally by product teams, to maximize dopamine hits per minute. The challenge is that most focus hacks try to fight this with more effort, more willpower, more blocking apps, more guilt, but you can't out-discipline a recalibrated reward system. You have to actually reset the baseline. Here's the solution, my friends. Here's what actually works based on the behavioral research. First, build in a period of low stimulation, not zero stimulation. This is where the idea of a dopamine detox gets oversimplified. You don't need to sit in a dark room. You need extended stretches, even 60 to 90 minutes, where you're not switching inputs every few seconds. A walk without a podcast, cooking without a video playing, This lets your baseline sensitivity recover. Second, practice what researchers call effortful reward. Activities where the reward comes after some friction, a workout, a puzzle, a real conversation. Rebuild your tolerance for delayed gratification, which is the actual muscle being atrophied by the infinite scroll. Third, and this is the one people skip, notice the urge without acting on it immediately. When you feel the pull to check your phone, wait 60 seconds. That gap is where your prefrontal cortex, the planning, decision-making part of your brain, gets to weigh in again instead of your reward system running the show unopposed. This is where I like to add something rather than just take something away, because restriction alone doesn't stick. Instead of reaching for your phone between tasks, build a small ritual around a warm cup of Agara Cafe or Matcha Agara. It gives your brain a different small reward, one that supports steady energy instead of the spike and crash cycle of constant notifications. And when you sit down for a low stimulation stretch, diffusing doTERRA Wild Orange can help. It's uplifting without being jittery, and it gives your brain a pleasant sensory anchor that isn't a screen. Your brain isn't broken, my friends. It's just been trained by an environment that wasn't built with your attention span in mind. The good news? Baselines reset. It just takes consistency, not willpower. Tomorrow, my friends, we're talking about something that's quietly sabotaging your focus before you even wake up, your blue light and sleep-wake rhythm. I will see you then in tomorrow's circle. But remember, check out Patreon. If you want more, if you want early releases of these streams, if you want support from me, if you want a community that is all about supporting each other in feeling better daily, hop on over to Patreon. The link is in the description and the first comment. Peace, love, and light to you all. I will see you tomorrow in the circle. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Debbie with Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio and our Healing Circle, Feel Better Daily. We are on the focus stack this week, and this is episode 2, Blue Light and Sleep-Wake Rhythm. If you have ever had a great night's sleep and still felt foggy by 10 a.m., or you're wide awake at midnight even though you're exhausted, this episode is for you, because your focus today was largely decided last night, hours before you even opened your eyes. Your ability to focus runs on something called your circadian rhythm, a roughly 24-hour internal clock run by a cluster of cells in your hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This clock doesn't just control sleep, it times your cortisol release, your body temperature, and critically, your cognitive alertness throughout the day. The main input this clock uses to set itself is light, specifically blue wavelength light hitting specialized photoreceptors in your eyes called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. These cells aren't for seeing. Their entire job is to tell your brain what time it is. Here's the problem. These receptors are especially sensitive to blue light, and they don't care whether that light is coming from the sun or from your phone at 11 p.m. When you get blue light exposure late at night, it suppresses melatonin release, sometimes by 50% or more, and research shows this suppression can persist for over an hour after exposure. Your brain thinks it's still daytime, so it delays the whole cascade of processes that are supposed to prepare you for deep, restorative sleep. But here's the part most people miss. It's not just about nighttime light, it's about contrast. Your circadian system is calibrated by the difference between bright day and dark night. If your days are spent indoors under dim, artificial light, and your evenings are spent under bright screens, you've essentially flattened that contrast. And a flat signal is a confusing signal. Your internal clock can't set itself properly, which means the next day's alertness curve, the one that's supposed to peak in mid-morning and again in early afternoon, gets blunted or shifted. The challenge is that we treat sleep and focus as two separate problems. You take something for energy in the morning and something to unwind at night without realizing they're the same system. Morning light exposure is the solution. It is the highest leverage habit here. Getting outside, no sunglasses, just 5 to 10 minutes within the first hour of waking sends a strong, clear signal that anchors your entire rhythm for the day. This single habit has more research behind it for improving both sleep onset and daytime alertness than almost anything else in sleep literature. In the evening, the goal isn't perfection, it's contrast. Dim your main lights starting about 90 minutes before bed. If you're on a screen, night mode helps, but it doesn't eliminate the problem. The biggest lever is just reducing total light exposure, not filtering its color. And build a wind down cue your brain learns to associate with a shift from day to night. This is where scent can do real work. Lavender and vetiver from doTERRA are both studied for their calming effect on the nervous system, and using them consistently as part of an evening ritual helps train your brain to recognize it's time to downshift faster over time. Focus isn't just a daytime skill. It's the output of a well-timed rhythm that starts the moment you wake up. Get the light right and everything downstream gets easier. Next, tomorrow, why you literally cannot concentrate in a stressed state and how to shift your nervous system into one built for deep work. That, my friends, will be episode 3. If you have found this content valuable or informational to you, please hop on over to Patreon and check out our Healing Circle there. You get early releases of these streams, resources, daily anchors, and direct support from me and much more. It's only $7.99 a month, so please take a look. On that note, my friends, I love you all. Peace, love, and light to you, and I'll see you tomorrow in the circle.